Build your own business team. Survival in business requires a synergy of skills. Richard Branson. On today's episode, I'm sharing with you correlations I've seen between animals in the wild and us entrepreneurs.
You have the power to be the boss of your own life. I'm your host, Monica Allen. I'm a wife, mom, entrepreneur, best-selling author, lifelong learner, and your biz bestie. I have a love and passion for all things small business. Growing my own company from $700 to over 7 figures annually, my goal is to bring you inspiration, business-focused topics and tips, encouragement, and a community that helps you launch, grow, and scale your business, whether you are a dreamer, a side hustler, or a seasoned entrepreneur. You are listening to the Become Your Own Boss podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Trifecta Group Coaching. How would you like to have 3 experts focusing on areas of your business to help you grow exponentially? With a focus on your overall business, marketing strategy, and social media, you will be confident in your business's direction. Follow Trifecta Group Coaching on Instagram so you know when we are hosting our next free masterclass. A masterclass entitled 3 Ways to Grow Your Business Now. Or visit the website trifectagroupcoaching.com for more info. In the past week, I have spent 5 days on safari with my family and a group of other entrepreneurs from Atlanta and New York. It has been an amazing trip because we would get up really early, and go out and look for animals because they usually come out early in the morning and then they go back and sleep during the day when it's really hot, and then they come back out in the evenings. So never in my life did I imagine being so close to lions, cheetahs, elephants, literally feet away. We were toured around the bush by a member of the Maasai tribe. Here in the bush, they are known for being able to kill a lion with a spear. They have so much information about these animals because they watch them every single day. And it was so fascinating to hear the stories. And I wanted to share some things with you because as we're going around the bush each day, and I truly did forget about time. I usually didn't know what day it was or what time it was unless I had to look at my watch to meet the Maasai tribe person to go out on the bush. It was so interesting to watch these animals. I just wanted to share with you some of my takeaways. And the first is the will to survive is huge for all living creatures. And that is from the smallest bug to the ruler of the kingdom, the lion. Every creature has the will to survive. We all have an innate fighting spirit. So our very first day on safari, a cheetah, actually they were baby cheetahs, began to chase a rabbit. Well, the rabbit, took off as soon as he saw the cheetahs move because, of course, he has the will to survive, just like we all do. And same for any animal being chased by anything that threatens their life. And we as entrepreneurs are the same. We as humans are the same, of course, but we fight for our businesses. We have an innate fighting spirit in our being for our personal survival, as well as anything that we put energy into for survival. So our children, of course, we're going to fight for their survival. For our businesses, we're going to fight for their survival. So we all just have a huge will to survive in whatever wilderness we may be in. One of the things that our guide pointed out to us is that certain animals like the impalas, the gazelles, the water buffalo, they all stay in areas where the grass is very low. And he was telling us that they do this because they want to, of course, be able to see what may be threatening them. So any of the animals that are hunted by lions tend to stay out of the tall grasses where they cannot see their predators. And I found this, of course, fascinating and smart because why put yourself in a situation where you are threatened but can't see the threat coming? And so these animals would only graze in areas where they are able to see their predators coming after them. And I think we as entrepreneurs do that too. We work really hard to not put ourselves in compromising positions. We work really hard to make sure we keep our business safe through making sure we have insurance and keeping an eye out on our competitors. What are they doing? Not to obsess about our competitors, but to at least keep an idea or an eye on what they are doing. A guide also pointed out that in some cases, and this was an example with the water buffalo, they would look out. There would be some that would look out while the others rested. And I assume they take turns doing that. And at one particular area early in the morning, there were a bunch of impalas leaping across the plain. And it was so neat. I really felt like it was a moment out of Lion King. And it almost looked as if they were meeting. There was 3 impalas standing at the head, looking back at a large group of impalas. And it looked as if they were getting ready to have a meeting to discuss perhaps their migration. Not sure, but it was such a fascinating image to see. This is what brings me to the quote from Sir Richard Branson. Build your own business team. Survival in business requires a synergy of skills. If you think about it, even in the bush, there is a synergy of skills amongst the animals. In order for them to survive, in order for them to migrate, they have to work together as a team. The zebras work together to cross the river. The water buffalo work together to, some rest while others look out. And we have to do the same in our businesses. Our team members, each of us have our skill set that help the business survive. I also thought it fitting to have a quote this week from Richard Branson because one of the places that we stayed was Mahali, Missouri, which is one of his safari resorts. Very, very cool place, and the staff was absolutely amazing. So I wanted to give them a little bit of a shout out. I found one of my favorite animals on safari to be the elephant, and they are so big and majestic, and the baby elephants are the cutest animals. And the young are the most vulnerable, but they're very smart. They stick with their older, wiser parents or an older, wiser an older, wiser animal in their pride. For example, for the lions, the cubs, though they may nurse with another lioness, they stick with someone older and wiser than them to teach them the ways of the bush. And they are so smart because the little elephants stay in between the mom's legs, and as she moves, the baby elephant will move as well. And again, I see correlations around entrepreneurship and a lot of things, but I think as young business owners, sometimes we are the most vulnerable. I've been a business owner now for 20 years, but I can still remember just not knowing certain things, having to dig and search and hunt and not necessarily have myself surrounded by more experienced business owners. I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family, so there are just certain things that I didn't know. And for us younger entrepreneurs, when we first get started, it's harder for us to get loans, raise capital. And so to be around older, more experienced entrepreneurs is and can be very helpful in your business as you grow. So I found this correlation to just be very interesting because the young in the bush learn from those who are older than them, who've been experiencing the bush for a very long time. Right now, I'm recording this episode in Egypt because we figured since we were in Kenya, in Africa, we may as well take this opportunity and come up to Egypt to see the Great Pyramids. And so yesterday we spent our entire day exploring the many, many pyramids of Egypt. But the Great Pyramids are right outside our hotel. And so it's fascinating to see them, these huge structures that are made out of stones that are as tall as me, and I'm 5 feet. Some of them taller. They're heavy tons. They weigh tons. Some of them are 70 tons. Some are 5 tons, like the size of an SUV. And all of these stones make up these huge pyramids. And so many people think that, or our guide was telling us, so many people think that the pharaohs were obsessed with death. And he said, but actually they were obsessed with life. They were obsessed with life and legacy and didn't want to be forgotten. And truly, millions of people come to explore these pyramids every single year. It is 1/3 of the Egyptian economy. Imagine that, 1/3. It's very important for the Egyptians to make sure that these pyramids are preserved and that they're here for tourists to come and see. And I asked the guide, well, where did the people actually live when they built these pyramids? And he said they actually lived in very small mud huts. They did not live in these pyramids. They built them as an ode to these pharaohs living forever. And I like this when he explained this to me because legacy is so important to me. And I think for all of us entrepreneurs who are building our businesses, whether we hope to sell it down the road or leave it to our children for generations, whatever the case may be, the point that you're leaving a legacy in some way, form, or fashion. If you sell your business, then that's generational wealth that you've built over time. And the fact that they thought about building something that would last for eternity was their goal is just absolutely amazing. And as a business owner, I think about how do I want to build my business to last for the long term? Whether my kids take over, whether we sell it and have the funds to help them build their businesses or their lives, whatever the case may be. But that was just so fascinating to me. Not that they were obsessed with death, but they were obsessed with life and legacy. That one really hit me. I do recommend for anyone, if you haven't already and you have the opportunity to go on safari, I do recommend that you do that because the zoo doesn't even come close. My throat is scratchy because it is very dusty. We went to 2 areas in Kenya on safari. One was much more lush and green, and the last area we went to was very dry and dusty. And so my throat is not feeling its best. And even here in Egypt, of course, the pyramids are built on the desert or in the desert. And so it's very dusty. So my throat is very, very scratchy right now. But I do recommend that you go on safari if you have an opportunity. And if you haven't already, it's just so amazing to see these animals. We saw giraffes too. And giraffes have the longest eyelashes and they're so tall. Such amazing creatures to watch them move in their own element. And they're just everywhere. At night, you can hear them making noise. This is just all the animals. It's completely pitch black. We had to be walked to our rooms if it was late at night because you never knew what you would come across. And again, the Maasai warriors were there to guide you to your room. They had their spears or their knives. I don't know what would have happened if something jumped out, but it was just a great, great experience to get to know their culture as well and go visit their village. And if you can come to Egypt, we still have a couple more days here. So who knows what the other adventures will be, but to climb through the Great Pyramid was a little bit hot, but it was an amazing experience to be able to say that you're able to climb or to climb into one of the last great wonders of the world. So definitely recommend traveling the world if you can and get inspired to grow your business, leave a legacy, all the things that we talk about every single week on this podcast. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Thanks for sharing in this journey with me. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. I'm grateful for you. Please follow me on Instagram at Become Your Own Boss Podcast. I am also on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube underneath the same name. Thanks for joining me. Please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you get a notification every time the podcast is released. Now is the time. Now is the time to level up, leave a legacy, and become your own boss.